Welcome to our deep dive into the Buddha's Noble Eightfold Path, like a roadmap to liberation from suffering.
It's presented in both his first and last teachings, right?
Exactly.
Not a rigid set of rules, but like a set of practices all interconnected
They're connected.
that work together.
That's a good way to put it.
Almost like,
Like ingredients in a recipe.
yeah, a recipe for a good life.
That's a great analogy.
And just like with a recipe, you need all the ingredients.
Right.
The Eightfold Path elements all work together.
Each one builds upon the others, right?
Each element contains all the others in a way.
Interesting.
It's a truly holistic path. This is an invitation to use our intelligence to apply these in daily life.
Yeah, and not just like in a monastery somewhere.
Not in a monastery, but in our modern lives.
Yeah, exactly.
In the thick of it.
So let's start with right view.
Okay.
I was really struck by the story of the Buddha's last interview.
Oh, yeah.
When asked to comment on other teachings, he basically said, look, forget those guys. Do you want to be free from suffering?
I love that story.
It's powerful.
It really cuts to the chase.
Right.
Right view is about understanding the reality of suffering. It exists. It has causes.
Right.
It can end.
Okay.
And there's a path to that end.
It also seems to be about like trusting the process and those who have walked this path before us.
Exactly. Trusting those who have gone before and recognizing the potential for both wholesome and unwholesome qualities within us.
What exactly do you mean by wholesome and unwholesome qualities?
Think of it like seeds. We all have seeds within us, seeds of kindness, compassion,
Okay.
but also seeds of greed, anger, and delusion.
Hmm.
Our experiences, our choices are like watering those seeds.
So selective watering is key here.
Exactly.
That makes me think of mindfulness, choosing which seeds to nourish.
Yes, mindfulness helps us see clearly what's happening within us, what seeds we're watering. It allows us to make choices that lead to greater well-being, and that's incredibly powerful.
It reminds me of a story about Thich Nhat Hanh. He was at a peace rally, and a reporter asked, "Are you from North or South Vietnam?"
Oh, yeah.
His answer, "I am from the center."
That's it. That's right view in action, right?
Right view in action, it's about going beyond those limited fixed views, right?
Yeah.
Right view helps us see things as they truly are, without the filters, without the distortions.
So moving from right view to right thinking,
Yeah.
that feels like a tall order in today's world.
It can feel that way.
Oh, so much going on.
So much stimulation.
Yeah.
Right thinking is about aligning our thoughts with right view. It's about thinking that's clear, present moment focused,
Right.
undistorted by our biases and fears.
Okay, so much of the time, though, it seems like thinking is what pulls us out of the present moment.
Right?
Like Descartes said, I think, therefore I am.
And Thich Nhat Hanh offered a beautiful counterpoint to that.
What's that?
I think, therefore I am not. He said,
It highlights how our thoughts can actually obscure the present moment. The key is to unify our mind and body. And practices like mindful breathing can help us do that.
Have you ever noticed how easy it is to get caught in a loop of negative thoughts? It's almost like there's a broken record in your mind.
The cassette player, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a common experience.
So what can we do about that?
The Thich Nhat Hanh offers 4 practices for transforming those troublesome thoughts. First, are you sure? Question your perceptions, the stories you're telling yourself.
Okay, so question those stories.
Yeah, then ask yourself, what am I doing? To gently return to the present moment.
That's good.
Third, acknowledge those habitual patterns without judgment. Just say to yourself, hello, habit energy.
A low habit energy, I like that.
And finally, cultivate bodhicitta.
Bodhicitta, what a beautiful word. What does it mean?
It's the aspiration to awaken for the benefit of all beings, a deep wellspring of love and compassion.
That's beautiful. So cultivating those 4 practices helps us move from right thinking to right mindfulness.
And, mindfulness is really the heart of the Buddhist teachings.
Yeah.
When we are truly mindful, all the other elements naturally fall into place.
Have you ever had the experience of reading a whole page
Oh, yeah.
and then realizing you have no idea what you just read?
Happens all the time.
Because you were thinking about something else entirely.
Yeah.
Your mind was somewhere else.
That's where meta-awareness comes in.
Okay.
It's being aware of our awareness, noticing when our mind wanders, and guiding it back.
So it's like being aware that you're not aware
Exactly.
and then like gently bringing yourself back.
This ability to observe our own mind is what allows for real transformation.
This is what Thich Nhat Hanh calls one of the 7 miracles of mindfulness, right?
Exactly.
It's so powerful.
And one of the most beautiful illustrations of this is the story of Q and Kim Trong from The Tale of Q.
Tell me more about that.
So Q returns to Kim Trong, her beloved, and finds him asleep, and when he wakes, he asks her, "Are you really there, or am I dreaming?" And she replies, "Now we have the opportunity to see each other clearly. But if we do not live deeply in this moment, it will be only a dream."
Wow, that's mindfulness in a nutshell. Being truly present for those we love, appreciating each moment as the miracle it is, and that brings us to right speech.
It's true. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about the fourth mindfulness training, which is all about right speech and deep listening, as an essential tool for restoring communication and reconciliation.
Powerful stuff.
You know, earlier you mentioned internal knots caused by careless speech. So, how do we speak truth in a way that doesn't inflict unnecessary suffering?
That's a good question. How do we do that?
That's where right speech goes beyond just truth telling. It's about being mindful of the impact our words have on others, choosing words that are both true and skillful,
Okay.
considering the listener's perspective and well being.
But what about situations where speaking the truth feels impossible or even dangerous?
That's a great question, and it brings up the idea of right livelihood.
Right livelihood.
Sometimes we might need to find work that aligns with our values so that our speech and actions can be authentic.
So our work life supports our values.
This reminds me of a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh. "If you have a job in which telling the truth is impossible, you may have to change jobs."
Wow, that's powerful. It really highlights how interconnected these elements of the Eightfold Path are. Are you ready to dive deeper into right livelihood?
Absolutely. But let's save that for the butte, though. Part 2 of our deep dive. For now, I think we've covered a lot of ground. It might be helpful for our listener to take some time to reflect on what we've discussed so far. Which element resonates the most with them? What's one small step they can take today to cultivate right view, right thinking, or right speech in their own life?
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Eightfold Path.
When we left off, we were talking about right speech.
Yes.
And how it can be influenced by the ethical nature of our work, right?
That leads us right into right livelihood.
Yeah.
Which you mentioned can be particularly challenging in today's world.
It can be. It's about finding a way to earn a living that doesn't create internal conflict, a way to support ourselves without compromising our values.
It's like that line from Thich Nhat Hanh. If you have a job in which telling the truth is impossible, you may have to change jobs.
Yeah, such a powerful statement.
It really is.
It challenges us to examine our work lives.
Mm-hmm.
Are we contributing to the well-being of ourselves and others, or are we causing harm, even unintentionally?
Not everyone has the privilege to just, quit their job, though.
Of course. Right, livelihood doesn't always require a drastic career change. Sometimes it's about bringing more mindfulness and intention to our current work.
So even if we can't change our job right now,
Right.
we can change our relationship to it.
Exactly. We can ask ourselves, how can I bring more kindness and compassion into my workplace?
Yeah.
How can I use my skills to make a positive difference, even in small ways? It's about finding those little pockets of possibility.
Those small acts of kindness and integrity, like you said, can have a ripple effect.
They really can.
And they can help us align our work with our values,
Yeah.
leading to greater peace of mind.
Right. Livelihood is truly a path of awakening, isn't it?
It is.
And from right livelihood, we flow into right action,
Okay.
which is about aligning our actions with right view and right thinking.
Right action, it seems to be less about specific rules and more about cultivating a certain way of being in the world,
Precisely.
like walking the walk.
When our hearts are filled with compassion and understanding, our actions naturally flow from that place.
Right. It's like,
Think about the story of the war veteran
okay.
who, after committing terrible acts in Vietnam, dedicates his life to saving children.
Wow.
It's a powerful example of transforming even the darkest karma through right action.
That story really highlights the interconnectedness of our actions, thoughts, and words.
Everything we do has an impact, creating ripples that extend far beyond ourselves.
Right. So that brings us to the concept of karma. And it's not about punishment or reward, but rather about cause and effect.
Exactly.
Every action, thought, even intention, creates a ripple in the fabric of reality.
It's similar to the scientific laws of conservation of matter and energy.
Right.
Nothing is ever truly lost, it just changes form.
Thich Nhat Hanh talks about the potential for collaboration between scientists and Buddhist practitioners,
I love that idea.
both seeking to understand the nature of reality, each through their own lens.
Yeah, a beautiful collaboration.
What an exciting possibility. Imagine bridging the gap between science and spirituality.
Now let's explore the final 3 elements of the Eightfold Path. Right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. These are often considered the wisdom aspects of the path.
Okay, and why is that?
They empower us to cultivate the mental states necessary for liberation, for true freedom from suffering.
These three elements, they work together, right?
Yeah, each supporting and deepening the others.
Yet effort is about cultivating a gentle, persistent energy that guides us along the path.
That's it.
So it's not about like forcing ourselves or pushing too hard.
Exactly. Thich Nhat Hanh uses the analogy of selective watering to describe right effort. We consciously choose to nourish the wholesome seeds within us. Joy, peace, understanding,
Yeah.
and let go of those that lead to suffering.
This brings us back to right mindfulness. It feels like it's woven through every aspect of the Eightfold Path.
You're absolutely right.
It's like the foundation.
Right. Mindfulness is the foundation of the entire path. It's the ability to be fully present, to observe our thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment,
Yeah.
to see things clearly as they are, to return to this moment over and over again.
Thich Nhat Hanh describes mindfulness as the energy that brings us back to the present moment. He talks about mindfulness of the body and the body. What does he mean by that?
It's about becoming deeply intimate with our physical experience, feeling our breath, noticing the sensations in our body, recognizing that we are so much more than just our thoughts.
It makes me think of that exercise where we scan our body with our attention, noticing any areas of tension or ease.
Yes.
It's such a powerful practice for cultivating self-awareness and compassion.
Right. Mindfulness extends to the world around us, too.
Okay.
It's about being fully present for the beauty of a sunset, sound of birdsong, or even the taste of a meal.
Just like being present.
It's about waking up to the richness of this very moment.
That reminds me of Thich Nhat Hanh's teaching on eating meditation. He talks about how we can transform even the simple act of eating into a sacred ritual
I love that.
by bringing mindfulness to each bite.
It's about savoring the flavors, appreciating the nourishment,
Yeah.
and recognizing the interconnectedness of all things.
That brings us to right concentration, the final element of the Eightfold Path.
The culmination.
Can you explain what you mean by right concentration? Can you explain what you mean by right concentration?
Right. Concentration is about focusing and stabilizing our mindful awareness. This allows us to cultivate deep states of peace and insight. It's like taking all that mindful energy we've cultivated and channeling it into a laser beam of focused attention.
So what are the benefits of developing right concentration?
Right. Concentration allows us to penetrate the true nature of reality, to see beyond the illusions of our minds, to experience the interconnectedness of all things. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about how right concentration can lead to a breakthrough in understanding.
What does he mean by breakthrough?
It's a moment of profound insight where we see through the veil of our conditioned perceptions and experience a glimpse of ultimate reality. It's a taste of liberation, of freedom from suffering.
That sounds almost like a mystical experience.
It can be, but it's not something that's reserved for monks or mystics.
Okay.
It's a potential that exists within each of us.
Well, how can we cultivate right concentration in our daily lives?
There are many practices that can help. Some people find it helpful to focus on their breath, while others prefer to meditate on a mantra or an image. The key is to find a practice that resonates with you and to commit to it with gentle persistence. Remember the principle of right effort.
It's all coming together now, the Eightfold Path. It's a journey of self-discovery, a process of unfolding.
That's it.
It's not about achieving some distant goal, but rather about waking up to the fullness of this very moment.
Beautiful.
As we conclude our deep dive into the Eightfold Path, what's the key takeaway you'd like to leave our listener with?
The Eightfold Path is not just an ancient philosophy. It's a living practice that can transform our lives. By cultivating right view, right thinking, and right mindfulness, we lay the foundation for a life of greater peace, wisdom, and compassion. And from that foundation, we can begin to explore the remaining elements of the path, discovering how they can enrich our relationships, our work, and our understanding of the world.
Thank you so much for guiding us through this incredible journey. I hope our listener feels inspired to continue exploring the Eightfold Path and discovering its transformative power in their own life.
It's been my pleasure. May we all walk this path with courage, compassion, and a deep sense of joy.